Welcome to the Leadership Labs with DeepRec.ai, a podcast where we delve into the fascinating world of deep tech entrepreneurship, company founders, and venture capitalists. I'm your host, Anthony Kelly, and I'm thrilled to have you join us in this exciting journey. In each episode, we explore the minds behind groundbreaking technologies, the visionaries who dare to push the boundaries of innovation, and the investors who fuel the growth of tomorrow's game changers. Hello, I'd like to welcome Lokesh Bisht to the show today. Lokesh is the co-founder and CDO at Sentics. Great to have you here, Lokesh.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Anthony.
Good. Look, in today's episode, we'll hear all about Sentics, where the idea came from, where I guess the backgrounds of their tech founders, how they've changed their roles since the start of the company, how they've had to pivot and in some cases move into sales, how they've upskilled themselves in sales, how they've learned about financing and I guess just some of the challenges that as a tech person you completely forget about when you come into the startup world. But look, before we do that, Lokesh, let's hear about you. What's your background? Where's your entrepreneurial spirit been coming from?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for inviting me on this podcast, Anthony. About me, I'm from India. I'm from a small town called Nainital in Uttarakhand, India. I did my bachelor's from India in production engineering. Then I started working for Honda Cars India Limited as a production engineer. So I worked there for almost 2 years, and then I I figured out that mechanical engineering or production engineering was not enough to make changes or bring some improvements into the system, and that's what inspired me to pursue masters or in Germany, because Germany was an obvious case because it was known for cheap education, first of all, which was a big reason, free education. Plus I knew from my seniors that Germany has a lot more opportunities compared to countries like US or something. Yeah, so then left my job, and then I moved to one of the best universities in India, where I worked on projects like self-driving cars. Like this was from Mahindra and Mahindra. It's a very famous auto manufacturer in India. And I worked on some IoT projects there with Professor Sunil Jha in IIT Delhi. And then I applied for masters. My masters is a dual degree, basically from two universities. One is St. Petersburg University in Russia, and Leibniz University, Hanover. So, and my masters is in intelligent systems. So mostly it is about AI, and the other part is mechatronics a little bit. But
Can I ask you, just before we move on to it a little bit, what was the name of the town you were from in India again?
it's called Nainital.
Right. I've got a question. How did you manage to be a tech person to come out of such a small town? Right? I hear from a lot of people in India, unless you're quite close to one of the larger towns, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go into tech. You probably will follow in and do a similar career as your parents or as your family, right? So a lot of trades. How was that, or how did you have that experience as well? Like, were you given a choice?
So my father is a computer programmer already. So he was working in that domain. Plus, in my family, extended family, my relatives, we had few engineers. Of course, we had other businessmen also in our families. Some were normal, like government servants. They were doing government jobs and all. Like my father is also working for government, but so what my experiences with my relatives, and when I was talking to them, I figured out that okay, engineering was like something that I might like, because I was into doing some small what do you call, innovative stuff in school also. I would like to play with toys and make some changes. Like there are these small things that you do in school which tells you okay, you are into that, you had that aptitude basically
Yeah.
to change things. And yeah, and that's why I took mechanical, because I used to like cars and so on. I thought like I will be working with cars all the time, automobiles and so on. And that's what I did in bachelor's also. So in my bachelor's, this is one thing that I would like to mention. I was part of BAHA, SAE BAHA. So it's a Society of Automotive Engineers where you make all-terrain vehicle. So with my friends, I started a team in my university. We designed, built, and we raced from scratch like a all-terrain vehicle. That was my first, you can say, entrepreneurial start basically, because it was like building a team together, then deciding deadlines, and then having, even asking for fundings from different like alumni, governments, and then university and so on, and then managing everything. So it started from there itself. And then also when I moved to masters, I was also part of the Formula One team from Leibniz University.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, but then it was less mechanical, but I was working with the self-driving part of the Formula One team. Yeah, I mean, so this was the journey what you were asking for. Like what pushed me was basically talking to my seniors, relatives, and people who were already in around like neighborhood, those who were working on the engineering domain.
Yeah, it's always quite nice to have that support, particularly when you come from I'm going to assume it's a suburban location or it's not like a capital city. Unfortunately, like I've never heard of that particular city before. So
It's
yeah,
a,
it's
I would like to mention here, it's a small city, but fortunately, the government has constructed some good universities in that domain. So in that area also for us. So like the university where I was located nearby, and it's a beautiful tourist city. So it's not very like a small village or something. It's a tourist place. It's very famous. It's very beautiful, and I would invite you to visit that place sometime for sure. Yeah, but yeah, it was basically because the university was close by, so it was easier, a
nice.
little easier.
Yeah, I'd love to go to India. I do have a 3-month-old baby now, so my trips will probably be restricted to staycations and short flights in Europe for the moment.
I can understand.
Cool. Then you went on to do a bit of an internship in Volkswagen after education, which I mean, I'm quite interested to see. So you went big after the internship, right? That's when you started to found Sentics, which it's obviously a big step. What was who? How did you meet your founders? How did you get the idea? I guess where did Sentics come from?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the internship with Volkswagen changed the, gear in my career. And since I worked with also the self-driving part of the Volkswagen, so I was working with LiDARs and, you know, um, object detection using LiDAR data. And once that was in my CV, I started getting a lot of contacts, and that's how I contacted Michael and Sebastian. So they had the idea about Centix basically. That time it was called Probability. So the company's name was Probability that time. It was not registered, but this is what their idea was. They were working on this idea since last 1.5 year. So, and but they both are from mechanical domain. They wanted a person from software development side or who was in AI domain, and that's how they found me. And then we had a big discussion, and that was the time when I already had a job, a very like I had a job offer from a good big company with a good salary, and then I had an option to select between these two options, either to co-found. So they told me that we want to found a company and apply for a exist grant, like which I will talk about in Germany. And so it was like a week of discussion with them, also with my family, my friends, and all my seniors. Like, what should I do? Should I pick a stable job, be safe, or should I start a company now with them? So yeah, I mean, and then I finally decided to go ahead with Centix basically.
Who was the family pro startup or were they pro large organization?
Of course not. So the family always want a stable, safe job, for their kids. But the good part, and this is, I would like to thank German government for this, or the German system, I would say, not just the government. What enabled me the most to start Centix, or to shift my career path from a job to starting a company, was the Exist grant. If Exist grant was not there, or a safe period of 1.5 year which Exist has provided us, it's like a safe job. If this was not there, then the decision was really difficult then.
Yeah.
Like it might have been a different path for me altogether, because if I was not seeing a safe duration of 1.5 year, which is right now going on, then I would probably have not started like this path.
And I wanted to ask then as well. So you mentioned the other founders, they're both mechanical engineers, you're the AI guys. Um, not to be insulting, but it's not the most broadest skill sets, right? Use are basically the people that just work on the physical machine. How how quickly did you realize what you were missing as like a founding team?
We realized it quite earlier, and one of the reasons was Exist again. The requirement for Exist grant is that you need 4 people to apply for the grant, and one of them has to be from the financial background. So we three, then we started founding a fourth guy, and we had a fourth person also with us. But now he's not with us. But then, yeah, that time he was with us. So he was part of the application process. Then, unfortunately, for some personal reasons, he has to leave the team. But then afterwards, so we already knew that we need a finance guy, because however we can try to be a financial guy, we cannot scale the company with that kind of little bit of efforts and finance backgrounds. And then with that thing in mind, we started looking for finance, and that was the first thing we did actually after registering the company and starting with Exist. That was the first thing we did, was to hire a complete full-time finance guy. And in this process we hired two actually, so two finance guys. So we ended up with two, because it was not just finance, it was more like financial management. So like, and management also. So the guy who was there, so the two guys were helping us both with finances and plus the management of the whole, things with the companies and so on. So they were helping with us.
Did it surprise you how important understanding the finances were? Like you guys obviously, you're tech guys, right? You're like, we've got this excellent product, we're going to be able to build a business out of this, and then you sort of get in, and then they're like, oh right, you guys need to know the accounts, you need to know forecasts, you need to know. I guess even there's a lot more to it than that as well. Did it surprise you as to how much finance knowledge you need to have?
Yeah, I mean, I was completely unaware. So to be frank, like I was not, I didn't even have any awareness about the keywords. I mean, I was completely a technical person. Although Michael and Sebastian, they have been working as research assistant at one of the institute at TU Braunschweig, and they had a lot of experience in signing contracts, preparing contracts, proposals, and so on. So they had a little bit of background in that. So they were more equipped in that, but I was not. And then when we had the finance guy, of course, like it it gave me a new approach, like, okay, these are the things which are required in finance. And thankfully, like, we have a finance guy now, because otherwise it would be nightmare. I cannot imagine what we would be doing.
Yeah, I mean, what? So you got the finance guy. What did that allow you guys to do then as founders? Like alleviating the finance role for you. How were you then able to effectively spend your time?
And now, so for example, and like it took like 2 3 months to find finance guys, right? And before that, most of us, like all the three of us, were spending a lot of time in writing proposals, contracts, and so on, and even making sure that the finances are right. And that was affecting the development of the product, of course, because then our focus was completely shifted, and like we were literally like on two boards basically. And now I can focus completely on the development side, and that has increase the speed of like proof of concept to the market, for example, or the product. Like I'm sure if the finance guy was not there, um, what we are doing today, and we are already installing our first system on at one customer, at the first customer, this would be happening like 6 months later, or maybe 1 year later. So they have helped us a lot to increase the speed of the whole team.
Nice, that's good. That's good. I do, and I know it's. I don't know if you can kind of consider it the same. Also, doing a task that you're not really comfortable with, and like if you ever have to do like the finance and doing the proposals, you don't necessarily leave at the end of a working day and be like, "Oh, I had a good day today. I really enjoyed it." In fact, you've probably got a lot less work done than usual, and your stress levels and anxiety levels are a lot higher. And then you start thinking, "It's like, oh, I'm a really crappy founder." You're right, but you're not the finance guy. But unfortunately, that's going to be, I guess you could call it like an emotional weight that you will carry in a situation like that.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I agree. And this is something a lot of people undermine. They don't understand the importance of this, to go back after a full work day happy, and you and thinking that, yeah, your day was good. Because one day, people don't see it in together, they see it separately, basically. But if this things builds up over days, this affects the efficiency of the whole team. And you're
Yeah.
right, like, it is very important to be happy at work, and at the end of the day, you should be uh, you should be satisfied with what you have done.
Yeah, I mean, because then it's gonna be tough anyway, right? At least if it's gonna be tough, you want to at least be able to enjoy the work and being like, yeah, I feel accomplished. But I'll get on to it with the next one. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure yous, again, being two mechanical engineers and an AI guy, did you have the same thing happening within sales?
So sales for now, we don't have any specific person for sales for now. But as I said, like, Michael and Sebastian, they are awesome salesperson. Like, because I told you, they were working with proposals. They have a very good communication skills. They have very good contact. So they are like very resourceful people. Like, already, because of their experience at TU Braunschweig, they were in contact with a lot of companies already. So they are doing a great job, I would say, right now, for sales. But sales is the next important thing for us. So the next hirings that we will have, we will be doing it for sales now. We know that, we know how important it is, because now, because we are scaling so fast now, the company size is growing up, and the new projects are coming up. um, so Michael and Sebastian probably would not be able to focus that much on sales as they were doing until now, and they will shift more focus on, on overall management of projects, and some, like, the team, for
Yeah,
example.
it's another element of it, and do you know what? It's a really hard one to define, right? You guys are doing super successful now, but you will never understand opportunity won versus opportunity lost because it doesn't exist. But it was very clear with the finance, right? You could see very quickly because you were so far away from it in terms of like your skill sets. And the guys are able to chip in and do it now in terms of sales, which is great. But you might quickly realize when you get someone fully into focus on sales, when they start to look in at data, look at conversions, look at prospecting, and you'll be able to really see, was there even an opportunity cost there at the beginning that you probably never even knew about?
I agree with you, but partially agree with you. I'll tell you why. Because right now the situation is that we have a lot of demand right now, and we are not in a position to fulfill that demand right now because of the size of the team. And that's why we are looking for an investor right now. Because and that's why we didn't focus too much on separate sales team altogether, because we were already having enough demand. So, like, if there was a situation where we can supply but we don't have demand, then it makes sense to have a, separate sales team then to generate the demand. But right now the situation is completely like on a uh, different side of what we were what we were expecting, because we didn't expect that, that people will demand this product this soon, right? And
Yeah.
now it's like completely, like, it's also something very shocking for us that people are so ready for this product. When they look at the POC or whatever we have to show to them, they are so keen to get this product. And there are questions coming like, when can you install the system? I need it right now. Can you do it? Like, people are asking these kind of questions, and we are like, man, how can we do it?
These are
Because
these are good buying signals.
it is. Um, Yeah, but I know that in time, like in few months from now on, once this first or second installations are done, we can scale up really fast in terms of installing the systems, and that's the time when we need a separate sales team to scale the demand along with. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a good you have to start thinking then even about pre-sales teams, sorry, post-sales teams where they're actually speaking with the customers bi-weekly, monthly, seeing if everything's okay. It's even opportunities for upsells, right? It becomes a whole different engine then. But you touched on something that I wanted to ask about. You said, you're ready to scale. Now, you've doubled in like the first year and a half of a company as being a business as well, right?
sorry, can you
You
repeat that?
you have doubled in size in the first 1.5 years.
Yes, the team has doubled in size. Yes.
So that's impressive in itself. Um, so that's really, really good. Now you're going to go and scale again. So I guess what I wanted to ask, so you've, I guess, kind of got a process in. You've got to pass finance off. You will now look at doing something similar to sales. And when I say pass it off, I mean take it off your hands, let someone else manage it, because that's going to effectively allow you to manage for scale. Um, did you predict the level of growth? And let's say in the first 1.5 years to now, so that's double team size. Did you predict that growth? And then how do you plan to manage scale over the next, let's say, 1.5 years?
Well, so we predicted some growth, of course. And but we didn't predict the reasons for the growth. So the kind of growth we had it planned already. But the enablers for this growth are now different from what we planned before, right? So for example, we thought initially that it would be easier for us to completely bootstrap from our sales. Only part of our sales help us in managing what the scale that we have right now, but the rest of it comes from other funding sources, like public funding sources from the local government or the state government from the Germany, or the federal government from the Germany. So yeah, I mean, that was not expected, because that came along, with time. There were
Yeah.
opportunities for these fundings, and yeah, that's that is what I would like to say in answer to
Nice.
that question.
You've done well. You've kept it quite lean. And you've grown well, us considering you're a Wolfsburg based startup. Which actually I do just want to ask on that. I should have asked earlier, but what made you guys choose Wolfsburg?
Okay, so there are two reasons for it. One is because we are a spin-off from TU Braunschweig, and because Michael, Sebastian, they were research assistant at TU Braunschweig, and Sebastian is still a research assistant there. So the rule of exist says that we have to be linked to a university. That's how the exist grants comes to us. And the other thing is, Wolfsburg is an industrial area, right? Like, because of Volkswagen.
Yeah.
So and this building where we are located, which you can see already on the background, I'm sitting at Wolfsburg right now. This is a perfect like scenario for us. It simulates an industry or a working environment, a logistics area, and a production environment, and we can mount all our. So this is a place from TU Braunschweig also. So there are facilities from TU Braunschweig, machines from TU Braunschweig here. We can use that. Plus, we can also mount a dummy system here, like of 30, 40 sensors, and we can invite customers, probable customers here to show what our system can do. And we are lucky to have such a system here. And it is almost for free for us, like because of the exist, right? And
Yeah.
because of the university. So these are the reasons why we are here.
Nice. Good, good. Um, I wanted to ask as well. We spoke about sales. We spoke about finance. I guess as coming from a tech background, was there anything else that sort of surprised you that was very important that you were just not expecting?
Well, there are a lot of things. I mean, I'm every day I'm being surprised because I'm learning every day here. It's a roller coaster ride for me. One thing which I am connected to in the company a lot, like I'm involved in this part, is hiring. Like I was not expecting hiring to be this big a headache, but hiring good engineers or in general good people is like a very big task. Like starting like from end to end is what I'm talking about. Like the day you decide who to hire and the day the person arrives in the company, and maybe 1 or 2 months late after joining, this is a very like very big process and a very it requires a lot of effort. And especially when there are founders like me or Mike and Sebastian, because we are not expert in all the domains, right? So it's very difficult also to judge people for those particular domains.
Yeah,
Then you have to find ways to bring in experts from outside, or prepare a system where you can ensure that only best people comes into the company, because you don't. So, for example, for me, I would like to be the worst programmer in the team. Yeah, this is my rule for hiring. So I should be the worst programmer in the team, and only the better programmers than me should come into the team. And then how am I supposed to judge the better programmers if if I want to? So it's like a chicken and egg problem. I want better programmers, but I want to hire them. This cannot work. So and then I have to find a way. I have to contact people outside, the best people in the industry, to come and help us in hiring people. So yeah, this is a great process for me, and I'm learning a lot on this.
that's an interesting one. Do you know what? I obviously spend 40 hours a week on hiring, and I can tell you, for me,
I know.
40 hours a week on hiring still isn't enough, right? So I do always feel for people like yourself, as you said, like you could be doing front end developer, right? It's completely different skill set. It's not your space. But then you're doing a back end developer. Then you're trying to do sales. You're trying to do finance. I spend 40 hours a week just in AI, and it's still not enough. So it's hard. Did you did you have a hiring or a recruitment process set up when you joined, or is that something that you later looked at?
No, there was no there was no process. There was absolutely zero hiring process, or like a SOP for hiring. Um, we set it up from scratch, and still like we have to tune it a little bit, or tweak it a little bit, because still it is not perfect right now. Like we have already hired two full stack developers right now, and this process took like 4 months just to hire two people. Took 4 months for us, and it is a big time, and just 4 months is a big time. And I don't want to mention how many man hours I have spent there, because and taking out time from development and then going there. It's I would love to have some HR person in my team like soon, like after sales, the next person, because we want to scale to 24 or 30 people next year. And I would love if we have a good HR person here who can take care of the whole hiring process.
Oh, it might be something that you find out later down the line, but a lot of HR people will also say that they don't do hiring, because they say some HR people will say that HR is the legal stuff, it's the working contracts, it's the benefits, it's the L&D, it's the employee welfare. They consider those as human resource topics. Some people will do HR and talent acquisition, but some people will come in and think they're doing a HR job and then leave because it's mainly talent acquisition. It's also a very weird evolving space, you know. It's also, you got people and culture in there as well, which is quite a long term goal where a lot of people really want to impact. But again, I think you're right. You said introduce the standard operating process. I think having these as sort of like a base level is a must when you're doing anything. I've seen it a lot of times where people are like, "Oh, we'll just see how the first interview goes. We might have a second, we might have a third." Very disengaging to the person who's interviewing if they don't know what the process is, they don't know what's going on. And unfortunately, they're like, "Oh, this place is a bit chaotic. I'm gonna reject your offer." And then you now spend 4 months. You then have to go 4 months again to even try and make another offer, right?
Yes, that is a nightmare. I don't want to land up in that situation at all.
Yeah, it's quite common. Um, are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Good. Start off with a nice easy one. Something that you'd recommend for other tech leaders, AI leaders. It can be a book, a podcast, piece of content that you've listened to, you've liked, or you think is helpful.
I can recommend following Dr. Andrew Ng. Is like he is my mentor in AI domain, and the good part is he's not just a professor in AI or a expert in AI, but he has a lot of experience in starting new companies like lending AI, deep learning AI, and then Coursera is from him, and also he's part of venture capital as well. So I think like it's a good. I follow him like for all the latest updates, and for example, his latest work on chat using chat GPT or a big model like that for development of software, for example. Like this is something not research based, but he also tells you a lot of things which are industry based. So I
Yeah.
think I like him, and of course, like your podcast is also good. Now, I've gone through some of the podcasts, and I like them. I like them. It opens up a new way of thinking, because tech people have very limited scope of thinking because they when I was an engineer or in my university or before when I was working as an engineer, I had completely different approach to a business or AI business, for example. I remember I'll give you one very good example for this. When I was in Leibniz University before starting like or meeting Michael and Sebastian for Sentics, I had a discussion with one of the startup incubators in Hanover where I was planning to start my own new business, like a complete new business. And I met them and they were ready to fund, like they were ready to give me money basically. All they asked me was find a management guy, right? They said find a management guy and negotiate shares with the guy, just talk to him that okay, he can take some shares, but you guys can then start company together. And I was thinking, why should I give shares to any management guy? It is my idea, it is my tech, all everything. I know everything basically. The tech is like so cool and it is like no one can do it. I can only do it. Why should I give it to management guy? But this has changed. When I come to like after joining Centix and after like 1.5 year now, I know that management and any tech, and this is my advice to whoever will listen to a little bit of advice, that management is much more important than the tech in any company. Like it is much more important because that changes everything. Like simple tech is enough. You don't need to do big things in tech for having a successful company.
Do you want to know something crazy? I spoke with a guy, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and in 2016, he created an app which was people would upload and share short videos of themselves onto a social media platform. Sounds very like TikTok, right? He's a tech
Yeah,
guy. Tech guy built this software. Reality was is that TikTok were so successful because they had business people at the end because they were able to
exactly.
understand the end user, and they're like, the end user doesn't want to see everyone's videos. The end user has their own customizable profiles. So TikToks is actually built massively on like personalization recommendation platforms, and that's what keeps people on it. It's what keeps people scrolling. look, his software could have been better. He said it had a lot of AI stuff in it that were like foreground, image segmentation, background segmentation, and stuff like that. You could make yourself. You could do a video. It could make it the Eiffel Tower is behind me, and I'm doing a little video, right? And it's definitely better than what TikTok does in terms of tech. But it's about what the user needs and what the user wants. Um,
Exactly.
it's the perfect example as it is now. If you could buy a rocket that would take you to the moon, if it existed, and you could have it parked where your car is in your garden, would you buy it and would you use it? No, but is it
One will.
arguably one of the if it was available, it's arguably one of the greatest pieces of technology in the world.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is what I've learned, like, and this is what I think every person who want to start a company or who wants to be an entrepreneur in AI domain should know, should understand. It is very important. Business case, as you said, like to understand the business aspects and to know how to manage everything together and not just tech. Tech is probably 20% of, like, this is what my opinion is. Tech side is very 20% of it. You can do great in tech once everything else is sorted. But if you think you will leave everything else and only sort the tech part of it, unfortunately, you'll end up like a lot of other, entrepreneurs like who have a very great idea, but like unfortunately they are not able to make it. Like the one example that you gave just now.
Yeah, no, fair. Um, do you have non-negotiables that you set yourself, you set your team every day to ensure success? If I was to say, if you had three, what would they be?
So one is there are a lot of things like we keep on adding. Like I can't name three, but like one thing which we have started with right now, few months back, is documentation. Or this is very important, like documenting what you're doing, and even if it is small thing, documenting your tasks and like following follow-ups for example, it is very important. So even if there is a small thing, small update, it has to be documented. So this is something we have followed, and this helps us a lot in tracking and keeping deadlines, or knowing where the deadlines are going on. This is one thing. The second thing is about behavior, so it is very important for me. So the way you behave with your colleagues here, like this changes a lot. So how the how a team works in a company, basically there are a lot of, because we work, it seems that we have a small team, but just to let everyone know, we have 8 or 9 full-time employees right now, and then we have 15 or 20 students who are writing their master thesis, bachelor thesis, and internship with us. So for me, it is a non-negotiable that they should behave like with each other as a team, and the behavior has to be like very professional, and like because people don't give importance to this. For me, it's very important.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's something that is massively, massively overlooked. Some people, particularly in a startup company, they'll see someone that excites them so much technically, they'll hire a jackass who's not good for team culture, who is a culture grenade, even, just because they think this guy is, let's say, for your example, this guy's a way better programmer than me. He knows AI better than me, and he can do front end. This guy could solve a lot of, he could wear a lot of hats and really sort us out. But then there are a lot of long term scaling issues with that. Like you said, you have people who are students. Will you ever interact, collaborate with them, help them with upskilling? Because you want people leaving Sentics, even if they're students, and saying, "Do you know what, I had a great time there, unbelievable experience. Everyone I met was super friendly, super knowledgeable, and really nice."
Yeah. There's one more thing that I would like to add here. The third thing is, and this I repeat a lot, because I think everyone might be like, if someone has to mimic me, this is the thing that they will bring up all the time, because I say that I don't want perfect solutions. And the problem with all the or most of, I would say, most of the students who are coming out of a tech course, for example, or who are pursuing a master's degree, is if you give them a task, they think that they can do wonders, basically directly, like if they, and they take time, a lot of time to bring that wonder, basically. And this is what I tell them all the time. don't go for perfection. I need a solution first. It can be a basic solution. I don't want a perfect solution. I don't want you to do something like out of the world or something. First, bring a basic solution and then go for perfection when the system is here. So I need a working system first, then I need improvements later on. So this is something that I always say, so the way to go.
Nice, yeah. I guess I've heard that framed in other ways before. You know, it's all about failing fast, because you can fix something when it's broken, but if it never hits
Is yeah,
production or never exists, you're never really going to work on it. And you can tinker with data, you can tinker with models forever.
exactly. And this is important. This has helped us a lot actually. Because even I was like that. This even I was like that. I used to think that if someone gives me some task, I used to think, okay, YOLO model is there, for example. This is an example, good example. Everyone works with YOLO. Simple models, it's there. It's also maybe it's not the state of the art. If you go and look online, there are better models than YOLO in object detection itself. But then, like, why should I spend like 2 months searching for the best model and like having nothing for 2 months? It's easier. So find a
Yeah,
decent solution in 1 week, have something. In 2 weeks, have something. Then go for step by step, improvements in your models.
nice, nice. And I'll leave you with this last one. If you were to do it all again, what would you do differently?
This
I
is
don't
a
want I don't want you to say study finance.
huh? Sorry?
I don't want you to say study finance.
No, it's not that. So there are some mistakes that we have done, and the biggest one I would say is before deciding on the tech stuff, I would have loved to go to customers directly, have a first-hand feedback or a first-hand survey, no second-hand or not going to online and search for some answers and not like this, but directly go to customers, listen to them, and then sit on the table and then define the system requirements. And we have done this, but we did it little like in time, with time. Like we spent some months deciding things based on our own thinking or what we were planning, and not the other way around. And after that, when we had discussions with customer, we had to change the way we were going ahead. Like we literally took a paradigm shift, in what we were doing and how we were doing it. So I would love to save that time, like maybe like 6 7 months, if we would have directly gone to customers first.
You know what, Lokesh? Getting customer feedback again. One of the things I always hear a lot. Something that 18 months ago you probably never would have thought about, right? Coming from that engineering background, but now
Yeah,
you're the person who's co-founder in a business who has ownership over a product. You now know, doesn't matter. You can have the greatest piece of tech there, but if the customer don't want it, or if they want this change, that change, sure. Look, sometimes they might even be worried. We want it in black. We won't buy it if it's in red. No,
yeah,
that's
exactly.
these things make all the difference.
Yeah. So no decision have to be made based on egos or your, like founders sometimes think that they know everything basically. They know what customers want. This is not true. You have to ask customers all the time.
Yeah,
We
only
don't know everything.
customers know what customers want.
Yes.
Um, but look, that's us. Lokesh, it was great having you. Really appreciate your time. Great story about Sentics. Wish you the best. In what's possibly looking like tripling in growth in the next year. Best of luck with all of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anthony. It was lovely talking to you. And I hope this podcast will help a lot more young entrepreneurs who are planning to get into the AI businesses in future. It would be
So, me,
great.
me too.
Thank you.
That concludes another enlightening episode of the Leadership Labs podcast. If you found today's episode thought-provoking and informative, be sure to subscribe to the Leadership Labs on your preferred podcast platform or on YouTube. Thank you once again for joining us on this journey through the Leadership Labs. Until next time.